Okay, thank you. All right, the fluffy thing. I am calling the 7 p.m. Public hearing. 7 p.m. public hearing to order. This is application of Steele Road LLC to amend the boundaries of SDD number 139 located at 243 Steele and SDD number 33 located at 253-275 Steele Road and 2021 Albany Avenue by rezoning a portion of SDD number 139 to SDD number 33 and rezoning a portion of SDD 33 to SDD 139. Roll call, Ms. LeBrun.
Ms. Blanks.
Present.
Ms. Cantor.
Here.
Mr. Cortez.
Here.
Mr. Davidoff.
Here.
Ms. Fay.
Here.
Ms. Poland.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney's absent. Mr. Winograd.
Here.
And Mr. Zdanowitz.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. The applicant has requested that the public hearing be continued to February 28, 2023 at 7 p.m. Due to an unforeseen scheduling conflict, no testimony will be received on this application this evening. And then we can, if there's no objection, we will continue the public hearing. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, the public hearing is continued to February 28, 2023 at 7 p.m. And then I think, I think we're good. All right, we will call the 7 p.m. Valentine's version of the Town Council meeting to order. A Pledge of Allegiance will begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. LeBrun.
Ms. Blanks.
Present.
Ms. Cantor.
Here.
Mr. Cortez.
Here.
Mr. Davidoff.
Here.
Ms. Fay.
Here.
Ms. Poland.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney's absent. Mr. Winograd. Here. And Mr. Zdanowitz.
Here.
Thank you.
As a point of privilege, I am going to first wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day, a day where we talk about and recognize our loved ones, and we reach out to them and maybe show them a little extra love and take a moment to think about what that means. And I actually was at the Old Guard this morning, and one of the speakers was talking about quoting, and I don't know from who, love. What the meaning of love, and one of the things he said, love is not what you get, it's what you give, and I was thinking about that in the marking the 5 years since Parkland, and the gun violence that we saw, our country experiences every day, but the horrific scenes at Michigan State University, and as a trustee of our flagship state university, that is the biggest nightmare that either a town leader, any of us, or a leader at a university has to experience. And I think about the fact that if we love our country and we love the people in our country, it's all about making sure that we're giving our whole country the ability to live free and with confidence that they won't be victims of gun violence. So I can't believe we have to say this again. Since our last town council meeting, when we also talked about gun violence. 33 people have died. This is in 3 weeks. 116 people that have been injured, and that's only from mass gun violence. I heard a number today that 100 people, on average, 100 people a day die from gun violence, many self-inflicted. But it's it's a scourge on our country, and it is how we are known. And it's really, really horrible. I also just wanted to say that the Turkey and Syria earthquakes, the devastation is just beyond comprehensible. Almost 38,000 deaths, 90,000 injured, 1.3 million displaced, 24 million people affected by this, 6,600 buildings destroyed, with a property damage of, they think, in the $80 billion range or more. But I will say, when I know a lot of people have asked about donations, make sure that you don't do GoFundMes, don't do kind of individual sites. When you go to a site, do an established site. Save the Children, UNICEF, there's a lot of opportunities to give to sites that are very legitimate sites that are not kind of standoff. So I would just urge people to do that. All right, public forum, I see no one in the audience, so we'll just check the form just to make sure that Casper didn't sign it. Well, there are UFOs and stuff, you never know.
Valentine's Day is a wonderful day. Some enjoy this meeting, some may not.
Yes. And while that is happening, we presented on informally, but not at a council meeting, but through staff, and Black History Month proclamation, which started 2 weeks ago. But hopefully, it's things we practice every day, and there's every month. But anyway, this is in honor of Black History Month, whereas Black History Month is observed every February, and this year's theme is Black Resistance, and it explores how African Americans have resisted in many forms historic and ongoing oppression. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls on all Americans to reflect on our shared history and fight against racism and build a society that lives up to our democratic ideals, and whereas our community is enriched by studying our history and learning about the African American experience through education, research, and civic engagement, and whereas the town of West Hartford continues to work toward becoming a truly inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community, the state, the country, and the world. And whereas West Hartford continues to do more work towards uncovering its African American history, celebrating events throughout our community, like the virtual special events, books for adults and children, and to learn more about the Lemuel Haynes Memorial Project and celebrate Black joy, excellence, and community. And whereas West Hartford continues our initiatives such as the Witness Stone Project and Unvarnished Project, and working with community partners such as West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization, and build on the community recognition and celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the achievements of African Americans, share inspiring stories of tremendous courage and persistence, and study the very painful history to expand our knowledge in hopes of understanding the present and future. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that on behalf of the Town Council and the West Hartford residents, I, Mayor Sherry G. Cantor, do hereby join the nation in celebrating Black History Month, discovering, learning, and recognizing the invaluable contribution African Americans have made to our society, and celebrate these many achievements. Thank you. All right, and then public forum, we don't have anyone signed up, right? Correct? And no one, no, written in. Okay, and we'll go to number 4, Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without objection, I move that items 5A through 5D, 7D through 7I, and 10A through 10E be placed on the consent calendar.
Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, the items are placed on consent. Mr. Davidoff?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without objection, I move adoption of the consent calendar.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will go to number 6, Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without objection, I move that this item be postponed to the Town Council meeting on February 28, 2023. It's an application of Steele Road LLC to amend the boundaries of SDD number 139 located at 243 Steele Road, and SDD number 33 located at 253-275 Steele Road, and 2021 Albany Avenue by rezoning a portion of SDD number 139 to SDD number 33, and rezoning a portion of SDD number 33 to SDD number 139.
Is there any objection? There being no objection, the motion is adopted. Number 7, Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we adopt a resolution revising the fund balance policy for the general fund of the town of West Hartford.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Ledwith, would you like
Thank
to?
you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this resolution is to amend our current fund balance policy that was adopted back in 2016. And I'll provide a little context for this change. As the council knows, this is a time of the year where we issue bonds to fund our capital improvement projects for the upcoming year. And part of that process involves a presentation to our two rating agencies, Standard & Poor's and Moody's. Leading up to this year's presentation, which took place last month, we were informed by Moody's that they had revised the metrics that they use to rate their AAA rated communities, and those changes could potentially impact our AAA status, a rating we have proudly held since 1972. The first change was the economic growth subfactor, which now uses the Hartford, East Hartford, Middletown metropolitan statistical area for the gross domestic product instead of a West Hartford specific economic indicator that's been used in the past. The second change, and probably the more significant change, is that Moody's will now put a larger emphasis on a municipality's general fund balance and would require a fund balance of 15%. You may recall at our council meeting last month, the council authorized the use of a portion of last year's surplus, raising our fund balance from 9.1% to 9.2%, which obviously still falls short of the 15%. We're recommending that we revise our current fund balance policy so that, similar to what we did this year, we will commit a certain percentage of our annual surplus to fund balance so that we continue to move towards that goal of reaching 16%. Our current fund balance is $28.68 million. Although the news from Moody's did surprise us, we also know and agree that it is sound fiscal practice to maintain a sizable fund balance. In fact, the Government Finance Officers Association recommends that at a minimum, municipalities maintain by the folks, the team that came out to meet with us. However, they have to present to a committee at Moody's, so they don't make the decision themselves, so they will present to a finance committee. Our understanding is that meeting will take place this Thursday, and hopefully, we're hoping that they will express what we've discussed. And, like I said earlier, we've maintained this status since 1972. I would say we are in a better economic state today in 2023 than we have been at any time since 1972. So hopeful that that will be received and understood by Moody's and will therefore maintain that status.
Thanks. There was no grandfather clause. It was a matter of just at this point going forward. So they didn't give you a slide, by this time meet this. It was just. Other towns must be in this same circumstance as us.
There are in the state of Connecticut. I mean, honestly, we are an outlier from a fund balance standpoint. So other AAA rated communities in Connecticut, who we don't look a lot alike for a lot of different reasons, but in many ways we, I think, far exceed those communities at the same time. So their fund balances are in that 13, 14, 15% range. So we are a bit of an outlier, but we've demonstrated a commitment. We've, 5, 6, 7 years ago we were at 8%. So we've over time, raised that number to 9%, 9.1% last year, 9.2% this year. And then this policy will further that commitment to growing that fund balance over time and getting it to 15%.
And we did also highlight the fact that on our pension reserve fund, we do have money there that through an action of the council could also, in a case of an emergency. And that was something that carried some weight. It didn't fit into the policy as they had presented it, but that was something that we didn't have before. So our total reserves are close to 30%. So, those pieces, again, were a bit different prior to the pension, the pension reserve. So and hopefully that will carry weight as well. Any other questions or comments? All right, then we will, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. B, Mr. Davidoff?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of a resolution appropriating funds in the capital non-reoccurring expenditure fund to purchase vehicles for the fire department.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Mr. Ledwith?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution will allow the fire department to utilize CNRE funds to purchase 4 light-duty vehicles to meet the town's emergency management needs. Included in this request would would be the purchase of a paramedic unit vehicle, which allows us, as we know, to deploy paramedics in smaller vehicles instead of our larger apparatus. Another vehicle to use for our fire marshal's office to do inspections, and then, like we had this past Saturday on Fern Street, actual inspections of fires. And then essentially 2 emergency management SUVs to meet the various needs of our headquarters team, including our EMS officer, community support officer, and support for our CERT team as well. The total requested would be $250,000. We did build in $25,000 into that amount to cover any potential cost overrun. So if we can keep the purchases down below that $250,000, that will result in savings to our CNRE fund. So I'll pause there through you, Madam Mayor, turn it back over to the council for any questions.
Thank you. I will just add that I know, this is a substantial investment in our community, but our large apparatus costs a lot of money to run. So this is an isolation, not taking away the costs of running that larger equipment. And that might be something that we need to present at some point, but it's an important point to make. So anything else? Ms. Blanks?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And not a question, but just really a comment in terms of my Public Safety Committee meetings and meeting with the chief and just realizing how badly or how bad in need they are of these vehicles. I know that they have an aging fleet, and it's been aging for quite some time, and they often have to have repairs. And especially since we just had that emergency over the weekend, I think this is something that is highly needed and something that we need to do, because it's better to be prepared than to get prepared. So I do support that we provide them with this funding.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. Thank you for your work in the committee. Ms. Pullen?
Thank you. Through you, a question. Are these vehicles in addition to the ones that we have right now, or are they replacing vehicles that we currently own?
They're all replacements, through you, Madam Mayor.
And through you, a follow-up question. Will there be an effort to either auction off the vehicles that we're replacing, or at least try to sell some of the parts, or is that not something that we typically would do?
We would actually auction off these vehicles through the state auction. I'd have to confirm exactly through which mechanism we do that, but we'll auction off the vehicles, yes.
Excellent. So then we would see some of this revenue come right back into the town. Thank you.
Some.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be too much.
They're very used.
Yeah, very
Astro
used.
van and a Ford Taurus that are being utilized right now. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pullen. Anything else? All right, Mr. Cortez.
So I got a couple questions for you, Mr. Town Manager. One for just my train of thought here. Emergency management. Currently, we do not have a vehicle for the emergency management team because that came in kind of afterwards, right? Past weeks.
We do have vehicles we're using, as I said, like Ford Tauruses and used police cars that we didn't auction off or have been refurbished
Yes,
to be
I see.
used by
Those are
the fire department. Yeah.
And then the difference in price on some of the vehicles. So the fire marshal's vehicles are $60,000, and administrative $60,000, and the emergency management vehicles $40,000. So how does because I'm thinking emergency management. In my head, it's more equipment needed, and then for the fire marshals, and again, I don't understand how. I'm not a firefighter or work in the fire department, so it's hard for me to understand. But at fire marshal, I figure they're going doing inspections, less equipment, but maybe I'm wrong. So just a $20,000 difference in price that I'm questioning to why. They're both SUVs, but one is 20 more than the other, and I would think that fire marshal duties are more a step above administrative. So I don't know if you know why the difference.
I don't, and I'm wondering if those numbers are reversed, and I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it would. I would have thought it been reversed.
So those numbers make sense, actually. So the paramedic unit would be, that handles all of the the medical equipment that a
Yeah.
paramedic will be utilizing, so it's outfitted a little bit differently than the fire marshal's more for, fire marshal will be transferring equipment with him when he puts it into the SUV, so that's a standard SUV, where I believe he's moving stuff around from his office into the vehicle. So there would, I would, yeah, agree that there should be a slight price differential. I was thinking you had the paramedic pickup vehicle priced lower.
No, I understand the paramedic is 65,000. The emergency management is 40,000. So I would have thought that type of vehicle, would do more, right? But that's in my head thinking.
Okay.
So why, there's $20,000 difference from the emergency management versus the fire marshal SUV.
So emergency management SUV will be housed right here at our headquarters.
Yeah.
And that will be like when our communities officer needs it, he or she can grab it and go to a scene. If a member of the CERT team needs it, Bob McHugh needs it, for example, he can grab that and go to a scene. So that's something that will be shared among the staff at headquarters.
Okay, got it.
So
And then,
it's priced a little bit differently.
and then for the record, I've seen that Chevy Astro. Maybe you guys should Google Chevy Astros if you're not sure. And that needs to be retired. It should have been retired years ago. So I'm glad to see that that's being replaced. Thank you for indulging my questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Anything further? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. C, Mr. David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move adoption of a resolution appropriating funds for building inspector and senior planner positions within the Department of Community Development.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Mr. Ludwig?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution will allow us to provide our community development department with much-needed support in our building inspection and planning divisions to help meet the increased needs of our community. As we all know, we've been experiencing a significant increase in large development projects as well as residential projects. And we are at the point now, and we've been at this point for a while, where we're not able to keep up with the demand of this increase in permits and inspections. We presently, in our department, have a 4-week backlog and have been consistently at that number for well over a year now. To provide a little bit of data around this, in fiscal year '21, we performed 11,399 inspections spread out over 6.5 building inspectors. So that's 1,700 inspections per inspector. For the last 12 months, we have performed 12,584 inspections, or a little over 1,900 inspections per inspector, which is a 10% increase over fiscal year '21. The 1,900 inspections per inspector is significantly higher. We've looked at what our neighboring communities are doing within their inspecting departments, and we've only seen one other town go over 1,000 inspections per inspection in our region. So this will provide much-needed relief, not just for the department in performing these inspections, but a significant need for our community, our residents, our contractors, who we are hearing more from over the last several months in terms of what this backlog has meant to projects that are being performed around town. The increase in development is having the same impact on our planning division, with the exception that our planning staff also supports our Town Planning and Zoning Commission, our Design Review Advisory Committee, which, as we know, is now meeting at least twice a month because of all the proposed development happening, as well as our Zoning Board of Appeals Commission. So between our zoning permit process, our special development district applications, zoning ordinance amendments, our staff is struggling at our current levels. This addition will bring us back to the staffing level within the planning department that we had back when Blueback Square was being developed, and will allow us to meet the needs of all the proposed and anticipated development projects that, in total, right now, far surpass the original Blueback Square development that we saw back in 2005. So would appreciate the council's support in helping us meet our building department, community development department meet the needs of our community in both of these important areas. And through you, Madam Mayor, we'll turn it back to you and the council for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith, and we have both seen, and I'm sure you all have heard, frustrations from developers and contractors that have not been able to get their projects move as smoothly as, and the residents. And sometimes we'll hear a real hardship story about someone that's terminally ill or, and it's really hard. So this will allow us to respond quicker. And the other, our online City View will also, that was implemented, I think, in middle of December, and that should also assist, right, with moving things
So
along.
City View, as folks know, we went online with our permit process back to the mayor's point in the middle of December, and that does streamline the application, the permit process. So contractors, residents are now allowed to input their permits online. And it's come with some learning curves for both contractors, residents, as well as our staff. But we are at the point now in February where it's running much smoother than it did when it first opened. But that's completely streamlines the permit process and gets it into the hands of our inspectors much quicker than it used to. Now we need the inspectors to be in place to be able to perform those inspections, and that's what this will allow us to do.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Mr. David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to commend town management for recognizing that we did have an issue, and we do have an issue with respect to turnaround time for inspections and asking us mid-budget basically to fund a position. But I think we need to also be cognizant of the fact that to be a building inspector, it's not somebody who can just walk off the street and say, I'm a building inspector. You need to be state certified to be a building inspector. And I think we still need to remind ourselves that we are still in a pandemic, and during the pandemic, a lot of persons were not looking for positions as building inspectors. So the applicant pool may be limited, and it may be a case where we would be getting possibly a certified building inspector from another municipality or things like that. And as the manager and I have had offline discussions, some communities are trying to poach those that we currently have. So it's very competitive. It's not only our community that's experiencing this problem, but I did want to commend the administration for recognizing that this is something that has been brought up by those who deal on a daily or monthly basis with the building department, and we're taking the affirmative steps this evening to address that concern. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. David. And what is good about this particular area, there is a revenue stream that supports this very much and helps to keep the flow of revenue coming in on a more regular basis. So, all right, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we are at reports from the town manager. Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll begin with council business and meetings. Our Councilor Davidoff will chair his final Community Planning and Economic Development Committee tomorrow morning, February 15th at 8 a.m. That meeting will be virtual. In terms of recent staff updates, staff reports, last night we did hold our first Vision Zero task force meeting. The goal of this task force, as we know, is to develop a plan that eliminates all traffic fatalities and severe injuries on West Hartford streets by 2033. The task force comprises 8 community members and 9 cross-departmental staff. Our next meeting will be on Monday, March 20th at 5 p.m. We will be meeting monthly between now and January of 24. The assessment office sent notices to all property owners, notifying them that the remaining 25% assessment increases will be implemented with the October 1st, 2022 grand list. These values will be used to calculate property tax bills when the new mill rate is set at the end of April, when the town council adopts the fiscal year 23-24 budget. You will recall that last year with last year's revaluation, we phased in those increases over 2 years, 75% of the value last year, 25% of the value this year. The town clerk and corporation council offices are offering freedom of information training to all board and commission members. Attendees will learn Robert Rules of Order, how to prepare an agenda, give public notice, and formulate minutes of the meeting. The virtual sessions will be held at 6:30 p.m. on March 2nd and March 6th. Contact the town clerk for the meeting link. I'd like to offer a couple of commendations to our public safety teams. First, there's a fire, as we all know, at 298 Fern Street this past weekend on Saturday. Structure fire was reported at 298 Fern Street. Firefighters arrived within 3 minutes of the fire. Smoke was visible from the roof vents and attic. Fire crews were able to extinguish the fire very quickly before it spread to other parts of the attic and third-floor spaces. The incident required the assistance of all 5 fire companies. Mutual aid from Yukon, Hartford, Newington, and New Britain were on standby to cover the town while crews put the fire out. Thankfully, no one was injured at that event. So a big shout out to our fire department. I'm sure you all saw this video that was going around from this past Sunday, but the West Hartford Police Department received 911 calls around 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, February 12th, about a man who was allegedly assaulting multiple people, including knocking an 83-year-old woman to the ground in the parking lot of the Price Right Supermarket at 983 New Britain Avenue. A West Hartford officer arrived on the scene, and as he exited the patrol vehicle to speak with the man, he was immediately assaulted. The officer's body camera footage released on Monday shows he contained the individual very quickly. Both Chief Riddick and I are proud of the work of our officer and are so thankful that a good Samaritan from the community assisted our officer until backup officers arrived on scene. Joint Public Works and guest speakers Cheryl Baldwin and Emma McDonald from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to learn which items should be placed in your recycling bin and which items belong elsewhere. The virtual webinar will air on Wednesday, February 15th, tomorrow night from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock on WHCI channels, Comcast Channel 5, Frontier Channel 6098, and of course on YouTube. It is an interactive presentation. To participate in the Q&A, register by using the link that's attached to this report, which will be put online for folks to see. And then finally, West Hartford prides itself on its diverse community, which includes over 65 identified countries of origin and over 75 languages spoken in our schools. West Hartford is committed to being a more inclusive community by bringing all backgrounds, abilities, and ages and voices into conversations of building a strong and supportive community. The West Hartford Public Library and the Office of Equity Advancement invite you to share your ideas for public building activities that would be of interest to you and your family by completing our survey. Again, the link will be provided online for folks to participate in the survey. And with spring-like weather upon us, Rockledge Golf Course will open for play at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, February 15th. And we hope this will be the start of a great golf season. I honestly, living in town for 25 plus years and playing Rockledge for 40 years plus, I don't ever recall it being open in February, so we will take it. That concludes my report this evening. Happy to answer any questions that the council has.
Thank you very much. And I just want to follow up on your the Vision Zero meeting. We will, and I know several of my colleagues on the councils, we're talking about raising awareness immediately and what we can do immediately. And I know you directed the committee to come back quickly. We're also working on a logo, kind of a something, and whether we have glow giveaways and things that we launch that's part of it, and then those immediate low-hanging fruit projects that, whether it's a raised crosswalk or other those things. I don't know if you just want to.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So yes, during our conversation last evening, we did direct the 17 committee members to bring back with them one thing they would like to see changed this year. So as we know, this action plan that we will present to the council 11 months from now will take us through the next 10 years and how we accomplish Vision Zero. And a lot of those changes will be done over, so there'll be long-term changes, midterm changes, short-term changes. But we've asked this committee to come back with changes that they would like to see done within the next 12 months while that action plan is being developed. The other thing we are, to the mayor's point, we're trying to come up with kind of a brand name for the work that we're, beyond, and maybe it will be Vision Zero, but something that, some, marketing brand name that we can utilize as a community to, roll out to everybody that's, that we can put on reflective gear, that we can hand out to community members, things like that, that can kind of grab hold of, the community can grab hold of, embrace, and we can start to see, around town. Bicyclists can wear things, pedestrians, things like that. So those are the kind of things that we've directed the committee to come back to our next meeting with, and we can start to work on some of those things and see some immediate impact from our work as a committee out in the community within the next couple of months.
Thank you, and I do just want to follow up on a challenging weekend for both police and fire, and how these highly regarded professionals act at times when we really do need them. So thank you. Any other comments, or Mr. David?
Madam Mayor, I think I shared with you, but maybe I'll share with Mr. Ledwith and the rest. I came up with a slogan, "It's cool to be seen."
I like it.
I did float that, and I got pretty much the same feedback. So anyway.
I'll wait the rest of your contributions.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions from Ms. Levin? Ms. Pohl?
Just a suggestion through you, Madam Mayor. Despite Mr. Davidoff's wonderful suggestion, maybe we could have the library or the schools run a contest, and that would allow some publicity around the effort and also some buy-in from residents of town as they try to come up with some branding for us to use.
Yeah.
We were going to put out ideas because I think we want to make sure that they can be branded, right? It's not always easy to, and then people could vote on them, but it might be helpful to have, yeah. Yes, Mr. Zadanovich.
As a segue to that suggestion, you said schools, but you can actually really focus in on with the graphic design project and their marketing classes. Maybe that, this might be a nice community thing just to get, instead of you get the whole school involved, but maybe focus in on the marketing and the graphic design element of our schools, because they're very creative. So.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, great ideas.
Oh, boy. May not be ready in a month. All right, talk about June. Okay. All right, anything further? All right. Corporation Counsel, Mr. Dodge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of the entire Law Department, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And I did bet the under on an 8:15 end tonight, so I will finish my report with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. And because my husband is waiting there with flowers, I will go fast. Okay. Announcements. Food pantry, as you've been hearing, is really in need of, they're especially low on non-perishable food. It has been very busy. Baked beans, canned fruit, applesauce, pasta and sauce, cold cereal, canned chicken, tuna, rice, peanut butter, soup, macaroni and cheese. So you can leave donations at the carts at the Town Hall lobby, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. If you're bringing a large donation, please call ahead to Nancy Stockman at westhartfordct.gov. Celebrate Black Joy, Excellence, and Community at the West Elm store location on February 18th and 19th. On Saturday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., come out for Community Day and be a part of our community mural. Enjoy games for all ages. Listen to guest speakers in the community reading corner on Sunday from 1 to 4. Join amazing artists Jaya Mark Renee, Faustin Adaran, Trey Brooks, and others for an artist walk and talk gallery and panel discussion on Blackness and art. Registration is required and spaces are limited. Register, and there's a link. So if you go onto our website. Hall High's 65th annual Pops and Jazz Extravaganza, and my dad had been to every single one of them. Come sail away with Hall's acclaimed jazz band dancers, singers, and actors for the nautical theme annual production. The show opens March 10th with additional evening performances on March 11th, 16th, 17th, 18th. Tickets are now on sale and for $18 for adults, $15 for students, and a Sunday matinee are $10. And then Singing Sergeants, the United States Air Force Singing Sergeants will perform a free concert at St. James Episcopal Church on February 20th at 7 p.m. And you can see it at the usairforceband.com website. And then Vines of March, this is a big fundraiser for the Rotary Club. They will celebrate on March 4th at 2023 at Town Hall. Dennis House and Kara Sunland will be the MCs, and they will feature wine, beer, spirit tastings, local and regional vendors, and unlimited food sampling from local restaurants. Tickets are $75. Buy your tickets at the Rotary website, westharvardrotary.org. Is there any other? No? That's it? All right, so seeing there's nothing else, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there any
Second.
objection? Oh, I don't think we did that. Is there any objection? See no, okay. See no objection, motion is adopted, and we are now adjourned. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's